Our girl is destitute.
What conspiracy theory do you have?
You're the Feyre.
I'm Feyre. He hates Tamlin. He's also a bit of a petty bitch.
And yet, she decides, let me just shoot my shot and see it. I'm like, girl. Hi. We're at the last episode.
Hi, spoiler team. Serial squad.
We're here. We're at the end.
We're here.
I'm happy and sad.
Same.
I'm like surprised how sad I am to be done with Thorns and Roses. Like,
Yeah.
it's shocking.
I know. Me too. Yes.
I think it's like,
yeah.
It's a thing where, like, obviously I'm excited. So excited to get to Mist and Fury.
Oh, dear God.
But
yeah.
it's also like, I think it's, you know what it feels like is like when you're done with your freshman year of high school or college and you're like, oh, it's over. Yay. But also like the easy part's done. You know, like you get your hall pass your freshman year, right? Like you're the baby. And now it's on to the harder work because, oh my God, as much as I love Mist and Fury, it's so insanely like so much is happening in that book.
Oh, dude. I love you so much. That is literally exactly what I mean as well about being sad about this book being over.
Yeah.
Like literally exact same reasoning of just like it's gonna get like we may have to like it may be a chapter, an episode next season because just I mean once we get into the middle of it, you know, like it's
once she's solidly in Valeris,
and like I would say in the portion where like before everything like the middle, like once she's out of the spring court,
yeah,
but before chapter 54,
yes,
like that little chunk,
but Bone Carver, Weaver,
bro, there
Dune
is
City, like Summer Court, like
Summer Court. There is just so much. Yeah, that it like I'm as you said, I'm so excited, but it is also like we're gonna really miss the days where we were just like, oh, remember when they were just gallivanting through a field, like you know,
remember the pool of dead souls,
yeah,
like
remember
it was so
all
cute.
Of that good, clean fun.
The finger blasting in the inn alone.
Yeah, I mean. Fuck, dude. Like, yeah, like we'll like Ariel and I really haven't gotten to see how we're gonna handle really spicy stuff on the pod yet because we haven't really hit it. So like we still like it's kind of the anticipation too of like how are we gonna talk about like relatively graphic sex scenes? Like, how's that gonna go? I mean, I know it's gonna go great, but it's just like I'm just so curious of how we navigate it. Like, we don't know that yet.
I know we still have 4 books or 3 books in between. But I haven't even begun to think about how we're going to talk about the mouth fucking that happens in Silver Flames.
We just finished the spoiler-free recording, and Ariel kind of started being like, yeah, and you know, the next book, her classic thing where she's like, it's not a spoiler, but, and she's like, but the next book probably has, you know, one of the, like, iconic spicy scenes, and I was so intensely like, yeah, one of, because like I was so thinking about Silver Flames.
Yep.
Where there's just I mean, and I would say Silver Flames, the reason why it's so iconic is purely just verbal because of what is said.
The language change.
Like it's really just the language shift.
Like I remember like basically clutching my pearls the first time Nesta said mouth fucking. I was like, oh my God.
You texted me. I literally feel like you texted me that. Like I literally feel like you were like, oh, I'm just like an old lady over here clutching my pearls.
Right?
Like,
and I'm not a prude by any means.
No,
but like
you're not.
It was more of the surprise of like, I feel like all the sex description between Feyre and Rhys and even Feyre and Tamlin, it's very like love making, no matter how dirty it gets.
Flowers.
Whereas, Cassian and Nesta, fuck. Like they fuck. And eventually we get to the lovemaking and it's beautiful and whatnot. And by all means, I don't hate it at all
No,
by
absolutely
any
not. It's
means.
just such a
It just
shift. It's just it's
yes.
so different than what we've read for 3 books.
Yes.
But wow. Anyway, we digress. So this week was 45, 46 into the book. Pretty crazy. Little summary. Last 2 chapters where pretty much where we left off. Third task, breaking the curse. Technically winning, not quite breaking the curse yet because of
Yes.
Amarantha. Solving the riddle, and then Feyre is dead.
Yes.
So that's pretty much where we are. And for those who maybe aren't quite reading along but are kind of just like enjoying the listen, 45 and 46 are basically when baby girl, sees herself through Rhys's eyes. We see Amarantha die. We see, all of that fun stuff. She turns into the High Fae. Bookends, la tita. If you need a quick refresher of what happened in these 2 chapters.
Yes.
So what's the correction?
So, little behind the scenes peek of how we do things here at Cauldron Save Us. So, David normally does like the first pass of editing on every episode, and I do like a second pass just to make sure everything looks good, cut out any like little weird, sounds in the background. And in the last episode, I don't quite remember why we started talking about this, but we started talking about like theories about ACOTAR 6 and beyond. And we
Okay.
talked about, you had brought up how you and Dee had been talking, I think on the phone or something, about this betrayal that's supposed to happen in ACOTAR 6. And we
Right.
were theorizing on what that betrayal could be.
Yeah.
And I brought up, I was like, do we know for a fact Sarah said that, or is that just internet lore? And we were both like, we don't actually know. We should check. I checked.
God.
She never fucking said it.
Oh my God.
It's an entire rumor. I still have to do a bit more of a deep dive on like how the rumor began, but from what I've gathered so far from this was, I believe, on the ACOTAR subreddit, like the main ACOTAR subreddit. Someone just had a theory on TikTok. I don't know what the theory was. I don't know what exactly they said. I still got to watch it. But somehow this theory seemed to involve a betrayal, and everyone just took that as canon, and it's not. Sarah, as far as I can see, has never said there's gonna be a betrayal in ACOTAR 6 or beyond. So everyone
Huge.
out there, no, it's huge because
Huge.
the way I was introduced to this concept of the betrayal was, I believe, through TikTok, maybe Reddit. And everyone just talks about it like Sarah said this in an interview.
Yeah,
But
like
there is
it's like lore,
it's
basically.
official. Yes. I have not been able to find, and people in at least this subreddit post are saying, yeah, there's no interview where she said there's going to be a betrayal. So I think that's really important because it really colors all of our theories. I know it certainly colors several of my theories. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
I'm thinking about making a TikTok and be like, we got to dispel this rumor,
Yeah.
because it's one thing to say we're theorizing that there's going to be a betrayal. That's kosher, right? That's
Yeah.
theorizing. That's
Yeah.
hypothesizing. But to consider it like Bible from
Yeah.
SJM's mouth, we can't do that.
Oh my God. This
I
is
know.
huge.
Huge news. So,
That's really big.
I mean, mind you, some of the stuff we talked about in the last episode about a betrayal, I think still stands. Like, I definitely think the
Yeah.
whole Elaine, if she gets with Tamlin thing, like that would be a betrayal regardless. My Amryn theory, which I can't get too much into because it gets into some other series, I still think, like, I still hold that theory. I think it still holds up whether or not there is a betrayal.
Right.
But it just means there is no definitive betrayal that we know of. We're not promised a betrayal in the next book, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm
But
so glad you shared that with us. Thanks for
yeah.
doing the extra research. That's crazy. Honestly, pretty stoked about it.
No, me
Pretty
too.
happy about it.
Me too.
Yeah.
Like, we can all kind of breathe a little bit easier, I think, especially with certain characters.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like with Sarah, there's just like you don't really know. I mean, she's like, at the same time, she's been a writer where like it feels like majority of your characters are safe, but then there's just enough of death for some of them that like she kind of keeps you. Even though most of the time things seem to kind of, at least like in this series, it's like
Yeah.
things kind of seem to, you know, wrap up kind of nicely.
Yeah.
She still kind of puts you on this place of like, but are we safe? Like, is a red wedding gonna happen?
No, that's funny. I literally just started reading Game
Yeah.
of Thrones, like, so Red Wedding's on the mind.
That's why it was on my brain because yeah.
Eh, eh. Um,
Mhm.
One thing I will say, and those who have read Throne of Glass and Crescent City know this, any sort of like big betrayal I can think of that happens in those books, whether it's in House of Earth and Blood or Assassin's Blade, for instance,
Mm,
those characters there usually is a twist to the betrayal, right? Like there's the twist of the betrayal and then those characters end up redeeming themselves somehow. So,
yeah.
I think if we're going to get a betrayal, there's a chance of redemption still, but
Yeah.
that's if we get a betrayal.
Well, see, but I was coming at it like when you said that like we can breathe a little bit easier. I was coming at it from the place of like from a broader
Ah.
things to fear of thinking about who's gonna die. That's where I
Oh.
switched to
Oh.
of like,
Oh.
and that's yeah, exactly. That's what I meant when I
Yeah.
got to like we kind of like, but she like scares you enough.
Yeah, cuz we haven't gotten any major deaths of good people other than Papa Archeron, which like who cares frankly? Like no offense to Papa
Wait,
Archeron.
really?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, yeah, no oh fuck.
Exactly. That just really scared me.
Oh,
Well,
yeah,
I
that
mean,
really scared
okay,
me.
you could argue that like there's a particular death of Amarin, right? Because
Sure.
she like loses. Yeah, no, I
And
know it's a
Feyre.
stretch. It's a
Yeah,
stretch.
it's I mean, okay, in all fairness, without diving in too deep, I think the reason both of our buttholes probably just clenched is Throne of Glass.
Yeah,
There's
yeah, exactly.
a lot of pain from Throne of Glass. But if you think about Crescent City, we don't really
Okay.
get any
I
major
feel
yeah.
like
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
stop.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Stop. I
Yeah.
sorry. I just cuz I
No, you're
too
right.
want us to have this conversation, but I realize we're getting too close to spoiling other series and I
Yes, you're
really
right.
don't want to do that.
All this to
But
say, no, it is not canon that we know of
yeah,
that Sarah said
not a big
there's a
yeah.
betrayal in 6. So
Oof, well,
we can kind of breathe easier, kind
oh
of.
god. Kind of.
But now we
Yes,
just have other
exactly.
things to worry about
Now we
now.
do exactly, we just have other things to worry about. But okay, to kind of bring us back together
Yes.
here to the subject at hand. Of course, so satisfying Amaranth is dead.
Yes. We can finally talk. Just for those who listen to both episodes, we can finally tell our sweet, pure of heart, spoiler free babies that Feyre turns into a Fae, which is like
Oh, so nice.
massive relief as someone who is known for spoiling shit. I am so relieved
You
that
did
I
a
don't
great
have to
job.
worry about this. Thank you. Thank you.
You
Now,
did a great job.
we just have to worry about not giving away Rhys, but that's, we've been
Yeah.
doing pretty good with that, I think.
Yeah, that's gonna be really hard, I think
Yeah.
the next one. Um, yeah, but I have to say, from a rereader's cap, our spoiler Surreal Squad headspace, I would say one of the biggest things that shocked me in chapter 45 was that fucking Beron is the first one to
Yeah.
give his power to help bring Feyre back to life or
Yep.
to make her into a high fae when like that ends up being like a huge drama of finding like he's like one of the main people who gets upset when he finds out that she has like potentially some of their powers
Yep.
and just hit like he is a villain and like the rest of the like we don't like him in the
No.
series and the fact that it is him to be the first one is so mind-boggling to me and I never
I
clocked that before.
I literally put my book down, ran into David's office, and was like, "Do you realize who's the first High Lord to give her the spark of power?" He goes, "Oh yeah, Baron." I'm like, "Why aren't you freaking out with me? Like, what? You knew this? You remember this the whole time?
Yeah.
Like, what?"
Why are more people not talking about this? Like I don't like this is
Right.
a very big deal.
It's, and we talked about this in the spoiler free episode. I
Yeah.
do think it comes down to I actually don't think it's so much for Lucian because we got to remember that he doesn't really care about Lucian, and there's
Yeah.
also the potential that he knows Lucian is not his actual son.
Yeah.
So I don't think it has anything really to do with Lucian, or if it is, it's like a tiny bit. I think it's
Mhm.
purely for the fact that she saved them all. And I think as
Yeah.
bad of a guy as he is at least diplomatic enough to, and also, that's the other thing is diplomacy, right? Like
Right.
he, for all of his evilness, he is a smart guy, and he knows that another powerful high lord who he just watched murder Amarantha, mind you,
Right.
the love of his life is dead now, and I could
Mhm.
also see it being a thing of he's being strategic, thinking
Oh,
like, we gotta calm Tamlin down, right? Otherwise,
yeah.
he is gonna rampage, and who knows
Yeah.
who's gonna be in his way. Um, so here, let me at least give. I mean, and honestly, I could see it being something where he thinks it's symbolic, right? He might not even
Mm.
think she's gonna resurrect.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, and also, like, her actually kind of getting a dash of each one of their powers, like, obviously, they all of them were surprised by that, like, none of like, no one knew that that was gonna happen.
I don't know if all of them didn't, because Rhys does say on page 406, for what she gave, will bestow what our precedors have granted to few before. So I think Rhys might know at least. I don't know if the
Well,
rest of them
but,
do. Yeah. Yeah.
saying will bestow what our predecessors have granted to few before, that could purely be him just saying, "We're giving the gift of being Fae, not our
Ah.
powers."
Oh, yes, that is true. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
but what's funny is I do agree with you that I think Reese may know because he's one of the first ones to be like, "Let's see what you got going on, power-wise in Mist and
Oh,
Fury,"
yeah. Yep.
right?
Yeah.
So, like, and he's the first one to, like, when weird things start happening, he's the first one to be like, "Huh,"
Yeah.
so maybe he doesn't know, he's just
He
more
has an
open-minded than
idea.
everybody. He's
Well, and
just
also
smarter than everybody else.
correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't Rhys one of the, if not the oldest High Lord out of all of them?
I
He's on
don't.
he's on the older side, I know.
He is, but I don't know. Because I have this feeling that uh is
Baron's
Helion
older.
not older than him, and that isn't Baron
Mm,
older? Like,
I don't know. I
I
kinda
I don't
get the
either.
sense Helion might be younger. We know Tamlin's younger. I think Khalees is probably younger. Baron's the only one where I'm like, "Oh, they might be a bit more even, or Baron might be older." But regardless, basically what I'm trying to say is I think that could be a reason why Rhys is the first to kinda, like, clock what's going on, because he just has a
More
lot more
experience.
knowledge because he's experienced. I mean, he was around for the war 500 years ago,
Yeah,
right? So, he's seen some
yeah,
shit, like Durin get turned into a ring and bone. So,
yeah.
um, yeah, but yeah, no, it is just going back to Baron, it is so shocking.
It's so shocking. Though, honestly, like, I'm kind of with you on this whole, like, it's a very smart political move.
Yeah,
Because he is the first one to do it. So
yeah.
it's like instant ally, you
And he's been a
know?
little shit under the mountain too.
Well, he oh my god, we didn't think about this, how, like, he has to kinda make up for his sons, right? Like, his
Yeah.
sons have run away, he
Yep.
has not. So I actually wonder if it's, like, more out of protection for, like, him and his wife,
Yeah. Yeah,
Like,
I
actually,
think
the
so.
more the more I think we take this, like, down the road that you started us on, which is, like, from a, like, diplomacy sort of, like, political way, it actually makes more sense.
Which feels very
Um,
barren,
it
honestly.
does, like, that does feel very barren, but it makes way more sense because I was just like, "There
Yeah.
is no way that it's just out of the goodness of his heart." Like,
We're
I
not
just
getting the
I mean,
Grinch where his heart is growing 3
no,
sizes.
exactly. Like, I mean, I do think there absolutely could be an element of it where he
Sure.
is appreciative of, like, what she has done and he wants to, but I also could see that being kind of like an idea and then him mentally going down the path of like, "Oh, actually, then I'll be the first to do this. So I'll be Tamlin's
Yes.
first ally. So I will blah blah
Yes.
blah la 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 la. Like and then I can see that being the thing that finally pushes him over. Okay, this makes more sense to me now.
Yeah, no, and it's something that, like, I didn't even think about until we started talking about it, honestly.
Yeah,
Because also, like, just, like, I just kept like, his name for some reason, like, I never really thought about the name Beron, and we know
yeah,
if you're familiar with the Massverse, names are very important. And, like, every time I hear the word baron, I think of, like, robber barons, right?
yeah.
And so, like, I wonder if that's, like, why like, Baron is kind of a bad guy name, you know?
Yes,
Um, and so I definitely think Baron is that character. I mean, we know he's bad, but, like, specifically because he is always looking out for himself. And,
yeah,
like, even when it's, like, for his family, it's really, at the end of the day, for himself.
yeah.
So, um, yeah, but it that was one of the biggest things that struck me about chapter 45 is I'm like, "Fucking Baron, of all people."
It's this whole kind of page from a reread
Mm.
stamp, like, with our spoiler headspace on page 406, like, it's kind of fun. Like, we get a little small, like, curtain call basically of the of the High Lords. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Like, we get a small description of all these ones. So it's like from a from a you know, reread cap, you're kind of like, "Oh, that's this person." I know you all know how excited I was
I was
when
gonna
we
say
got our when he got our little
Helion.
description of Helion.
Yep.
Um and it's just it's a fun little like, "Oh, oh hello," like
Yes.
kind of like, "Well, we will see you all again
Yeah.
soon." But yeah,
You might
it,
be
it's
bit
it's
players in this book, but you won't be in the
yeah,
next.
you'll be very big in the next one. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's kind of exciting, like, I mean, because they've all been under the mountain, and even when she first went under the mountain, we got a like small glimpse of like, oh, like these could be the High Lords. And the only other description we've really gotten was during all the summer court spy drama. But like
Yes.
that's kind of it. Like we didn't really get anything else. So it's pretty fun to like get a little quick introduction of the team
Yeah, the A team.
before like further in the series.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to bring up that's because I think we could go into the detail of, Tamlin killing Amarantha stuff. I think, if you read the book, like,
Oh, it's
it's
just exciting.
brutal.
It's
It's
just
exciting,
exciting.
it's brutal,
It's pretty brutal.
but you're just like, hell yeah.
Mhm.
But the other thing that stuck out to me in chapter 45 is when Rhys gives Feyre his power.
Yeah.
Um, after he, gives it, he says to Tamlin, "This makes us even," which we
Mhm.
touched on in the spoiler-free episode. Obviously, we couldn't talk fully about it. You know, I think there's a lot to unpack with it. I think he could be talking about multiple things. You brought up for, Reese's dad killed. I mean, we know Reese also helped kill Tamlin's family, but they're already pretty even with that because
Yeah.
Tamlin's
Tamlin.
family killed, yeah, they killed Reese's family first. So I don't think he's really referring to that, to be honest. Um, I could see him kind of saying, this makes us even for what Tamlin and the Spring Court have been put through and Reese's part in that. Um, I also wonder if he's talking about Feyre
Yeah.
here, especially the fact that, like, literally the night before he was caught kissing Feyre. Even if it were, like we said in the spoiler free episodes, it was to save her, right? Um,
Mm.
but Tamlin doesn't necessarily know that. If he's smart enough, he'll kind
I
of
was
put
gonna
two and
say,
two together. But
yeah.
we also have established Tamlin isn't exactly the most strategic guy, and he just acts on
Yeah.
emotions. So it could be that. Um, it also could be, a bit. Maybe I'm stretching here, but Reese, I think is starting to realize. I mean, we know by the end of this book, he realizes there's
Yeah.
feelings towards Feyre, and this could be kind of his way of being like, "Hey, we're even. I'm done. like, case closed, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, because also we gotta remember he disappears after this. Like,
Yeah,
he is not there when Feyre wakes up.
yeah.
So, um, to me, that little Irish goodbye is, I feel, a bit telling of, like, it feels like, the kinda like we've talked about in the rom-com where, like, the bad boy watches the girl get
Yeah,
the jock and him just being like,
yeah,
"I'm not gonna ruin this," right?
yeah,
I'm gonna let them have their happy ending, even though he comes back. Um, but yeah, I thought it was really curious. He says, "This makes us even."
yeah. I mean, I honestly feel like it could just mean, like, just everything. There's clearly
Yeah.
been a lot of really bad back and forth between these 2, as we know.
There's also a lot that Rhys probably knows he didn't do, but he will be blamed for. Inevitably, like the shattering of the minds of the
Right.
younglings in the Winter
Yeah.
Court. Like we find out he did not do that. But Rhys, like you kind of pointed out in the spoiler free episode, like he is more comfortable with his villain mask on.
Yeah.
And it takes Feyre in can't remember if it's Mist and Fury or Wings and Ruin, but it takes Feyre convincing him to, like, let people know, "Hey, that was not me." Like,
Yeah.
that was someone else under Amarantha's, payroll.
Yeah.
Um, and so it could also be him knowing realistically he's gonna get blamed for a lot that happened under the mountain, even if he had nothing to do with it. And
Yeah.
again, kind of the diplomacy thing, like Beron, of being like, "Hey, this is this is covering my tab," right?
Yeah.
So it could be that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I also wonder if it is kinda like what you said where, like, it's just Feyre, like, he's being like, "This makes us even for me, making her be my private dancer, like,
Oh,
every night
yeah.
for a couple of months, like,
Yep.
I am helping her come back to life for you, for her to be with you," like, it could be,
Yeah.
"This makes us even for" yeah, for all the parts I've had to play that have involved Feyre.
Yeah, the villain role I've taken on.
Exactly. But yeah, I think we talked about this before where it's like, we know she started human, but you
Yeah.
still kind of always forget,
I
right?
know.
Like,
I know.
because she's Fae for the majority of the series. So there's kind of
Ugh.
this weird, like, oh, right.
Right, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, this happens. I mean,
Yeah.
there's also, like we discussed, there's the theory that she was never fully human.
Yeah. Which I still kind of stand by.
Okay, I wanna talk about something at the top of chapter 46,
Okay.
actually.
Me too.
So, Feyre describes what this limbo-like space feels like, because remember, like, she's in chapter 45, she's dead, but she's looking at everything through Rhys's eyes because that bond came in clutch to,
Hmm.
make sure she didn't die, right? But
Yeah.
then she is once all the High Lords give her their little light power thing, um, she does kind of go somewhere. And she describes it as everything was black and warm and thick. Inky, but bordered with gold. I was swimming, kicking to the surface where Tamlin was waiting, where life was waiting. That's on page 407. This is almost exactly how Nesta describes being in the cauldron in, I think it's
Mm.
Silver Flames,
Okay.
because she definitely talks about it feeling like she's swimming through water or some kind
Yeah.
of liquid. Um, it's black. I don't know if she
Yeah.
describes it as warm though. That's the only difference.
No, I do feel like it's cold, but I do feel like it's
Yeah.
thick. Like, I feel like
Yes.
that's a description of it. Yeah, because there's a whole thing about her not being able to, uh, take baths and,
Yeah.
stuff like that, how it's,
Yeah.
difficult for her, how she kinda, punishes herself by, doing it, actually.
Yeah.
Um, that's interesting, though.
Yeah. And it makes me wonder a lot about the cauldron and exactly where you're going when you're in the cauldron, right? Or what is in the cauldron.
Yeah, well, it actually in a weird way, it kind of keeps everything sorta canon if you think about it, because it's
Yeah.
like the idea of the cauldron, right, is like life comes from the cauldron.
Mhm.
So you can argue that this here is Feyre being reborn. So she came back out
Yep.
of the cauldron, just
Mhm.
as Nesta is born into being a high fae, just like Elaine. 'cause this is when she's returned back to her body, right?
Yes.
So, like, yeah, like, do just the Fae come out of the cauldron?
Right.
Does everybody
Or
come
does
out of the
everyone?
cauldron?
Well, you bringing this connection between life and death is really interesting because one of the most, I think, known symbols for that concept of life and death being interconnected, that is millennia, old years old, is the Ouroboros.
Mm,
So, if you don't know, if you've read the series, the mirror in is it Akawar? Yeah, Akawar.
yeah,
Um that Feyre has to get and looks into is called the Ouroboros, but the name Ouroboros comes from a much, much older real life symbol of the snake eating its
mhm,
tail. And it's
mhm,
representative of life and death and rebirth and kind of this concept of infinity, right? Because it's a circle, it doesn't end. The snake is always eating its tail, therefore it's always dying and being reborn, right?
mhm,
So the fact that the concept of the Ouroboros is, and it's interesting that she turns it into a mirror. I find that fascinating. We'll get to that once we
yeah,
get to Aquar. But the Ouroboros has been brought into the canon of Akatar.
yeah,
And you have this, I mean, a cauldron is circular,
yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Um, you could say, we have the mother. The mother in theory has a womb.
Mhm,
Oftentimes wombs are represented through circular
yep,
imagery, right?
yep.
So I wonder if there's some connections there.
I mean, it's definitely not a stretch. Like, I
Yeah.
that's it's not a hard thing to put together. I mean, there's so many things with the cauldron that really, like, are very good symbols of childbirth and, like, a bunch of different things. So it's like
Yep.
it is kind of a, um you guys have heard me call Ariel out a lot on, like, if things are too far of a stretch, and this one feels like not this feels like you barely had to look. This feels like it just,
Yeah.
like, but I'd never thought about this before, though. This, like,
Yeah.
description, you're right, it is very similar to how Nesta describes it. So, like, I'm so glad you pointed that out because I'd never, yeah, like, kicking for the surface, life is waiting at the top. Like, when we in Silver Flames, as Ariel is discussing, like, we do finally get, like, a description of Nesta's full time in the cauldron, right? We don't
Yeah.
really get it in Mist and Fury.
Right.
Echo
Well, 'cause she
War?
hasn't turned
No, it's
yet.
the end of Mist and Fury.
Yeah.
But no, well, I mean, like, because it's the end of Mist and Fury where she goes into the cauldron,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So obviously we don't get the full thing until we're in Nesta's POV, and that
Right.
doesn't happen until Silver Flames, and we get, like, a full description of what her experience is like in there. And yeah, like, she does make it seem like it's kind of this, like, bottomless sort of water, like, she doesn't talk about how it seems like there's any confines or anything like that. So I do remember her being like she has to, like, swim up to the top. And
I just realized something. Sorry.
yeah.
It hit me. Because I was thinking about how also, like, I mean, it just sounds like a baby being born, right?
Oh yeah.
Like, and with Feyre, she describes it as warm and Nesta describes it, I'm pretty sure, as cold.
Yeah.
Feyre, even though it's hard for her, she surrenders to her rebirth as a Fae, right? Like, she, even though it's hard for her to process some of it, she does
Interesting.
embrace it. She becomes a high lady
Yeah.
willingly. She's excited to. Whereas Nesta's rebirth, and I'm not talking about just as a high Fae, I'm talking about like her symbolic rebirth of accepting she's Fae and all that. She is far more reluctant. She goes down the
Yeah.
path of addiction,
Yeah.
right? And I think that it has to do with her reluctance to accept the fact that this is her new life. And I wonder if that's why she describes it as cold, is she doesn't want to be reborn.
Yeah, well, because for Feyre, it's literally either die or swim back up, right? Like, there's
Right.
not and I guess you could argue it's like for Nesta, it's kind of the same. Like, she doesn't really have a choice, but it also is like she didn't have to uh take anything with her, and she
Right.
did. Yeah, because I feel like it's a much more this experience with Feyre, though it's funny to say it this way, but it's a much more positive
Yeah.
experience than,
It
like,
is, though.
what ends up happening to Nesta, right? Like, she gets thrown into a fucking thing, like, no choice whatsoever. You could argue this is entirely Feyre's choice, sort of,
Yeah.
because she made all of these decisions that led to a death, but everyone knows we want, like, I mean, she says later, like, she doesn't know if she's happy or not about being immortal, but at the end of the day, we know she's happy that she's still alive. We know she's
Right.
happy that she gets to, like, be with in this time, be with Tamlin.
Right.
Um, So yeah, it is a much more positive thing. So that's interesting. I wonder if that could have to do with the temperature, or it could just be they have nothing to do with each other. But I like
Sure.
this. I kind of like
Yeah.
this idea that you're creating. The one thing that that kind of struck me a little bit that I also didn't know if I didn't know if maybe you're rubbing off on me too much and I was stretching
Yeah.
my little theory
Stretch
thoughts a little
stretch
too
your
far.
theory limbs.
Well, so she says inky but bordered with gold.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, right before in chapter 45, right, we get this thing about how Tamlin shoots like gold light at
Ooh.
Amarantha.
Yeah, yeah.
And we also know that Rhysand is very, I don't know, in the shadows, inky.
It's
So
a
I was a little like, is this kind of this like weird like
combo.
foreshadowing of just sort of like what her life, like what she's gonna have to go into of just like having to kind of not battle, but you know what I mean? Like find
Yeah.
where, yeah, it's like it's almost like Rhysand and Tamlin are kind of being like represented in this weird like renewal of life because these are
Yeah.
these two males that are really going to shape her future, and they're kind of like she kind of has to make a choice between them.
Yeah.
And so I just thought that was a little, I don't know, a little interesting. Maybe I was grasping at straws, maybe it's a little
I
bit
don't think you are.
there.
I think in general, Tamlin and Rhys represent life and death and how they're
Mm,
interconnected. Because I mean, think about it. Tamlin's the High Lord of the Spring Court. That's typically, especially if
life.
you look to like pagan,
Yep.
practices, like that spring always represents birth, right? Or rebirth.
Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
why, fun fact, Jesus was not actually born in December. He was born in the springtime, right? Like, but we just celebrate it because
Summer.
of or summertime,
Yeah, I think it was like it's like June or
warmer
July.
season. Okay.
Warmer
But
season.
but we celebrate, part of the reason I
Yeah.
mean, I guess the resurrection happened in springtime. That's a
Yes.
rebirth, right? And then obviously night is night. It's dark,
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
representative of death. So I don't think it's a stretch at all. I do, whether or not Sarah intended it or not,
Right. Right.
or if it was happy accident, it kind of works either way,
Yeah.
honestly.
Real quick, you know what I think is really
Yeah.
funny? I completely forgot that Tamlin and Feyre have sex again in
Oh,
this book.
same. Same.
Totally
Isn't
forgot.
that isn't that hilarious how we just all forget?
Yes,
I don't think any
exactly.
of us remember that shit.
That's why I wanted to bring it up because I just think how funny that is because it just shows how unmemorable she makes these sex scenes with Tamlin. Like they are
So
just so
unmemorable.
unmemorable. And there's nothing problematic about this sex scene
No.
whatsoever. There's
No.
no red flags.
Nope.
It is two partners wanting to just like feel each other again and make sure the other one is real. It's actually it's lovely.
I'm
I think
glad
would
it
be a way to phrase
happens.
it. Oh yeah, no, me too. I'm so
Yes.
glad it happens. But it's just so unmemorable. And I just
Well,
was
and
like flabbergasted when I read that in this chapter. I was like, oh my God, I love how I remember almost this entire chat with her and Rhysand.
but
I
not the
remember
sex.
this. But I
Yeah.
do not remember that she had sex with Tamlin right before this.
Well, and what's even crazier that we all forget about it is this is the first time Feyre is having sex as a Fae.
Yeah.
Like, with her senses heightened and
Yeah.
all that, and we still forget it.
Well, it's
Like,
Sarah doesn't play with that at all.
right,
She
right.
doesn't play with the fact that her senses are heightened and that this experience would be insane. Like she does not point that out like at
Which is
all, which I
so
also think is
telling.
crazy.
I mean, it is one of those things. It's one of those reminders in a reread of like, oh yeah, nope,
He
we should
was
have known,
never end
but
game.
never end game. But like, also, how could we know, right? Like,
Oh
how we
yeah.
weren't supposed to know. But
How would they know?
again, exactly, it's the Fight Club thing again. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, this whole conversation with Rhys on the balcony.
I'm sorry. Can we just have a moment for the fact that it's been what 2 to 3 days after this or a day maybe, and Rhysand
It's
is the
been
first
hours.
one Rhysand is the first one to bring her to sunlight?
Ugh. And okay, want to set the record straight because I think we talked about this pretty early on. I want to say like in the Calamine chapter, this depiction of, and it's not by any means everyone, but like the fan art. There is, and this goes across the board with romantasy. Um, there's a bit of an issue with some fan artists where they will depict non-white characters as white, right?
Yeah.
And I thought this was going on with Rhys, and then when he gets introduced at Calanmai, he's introduced as being very pale, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, maybe I was wrong." Well, we were not wrong. Um, Feyre does say that he already starts to have color coming back into his face, and she wonders
Mhm.
if, like, him being kept underground for so long made him paler, and he actually has more color to his
Mhm.
skin, not like naturally, and just not having seen the sun, he didn't. Yeah,
Right.
so we do get confirmation he is a little bit on the darker side, maybe not as dark as Cassian and Az because they're full Illyrians, but just want to put that out there. Rhys
Yeah.
is canonically a little bit darker, so
Mhm.
fan artists keep that in mind. Let's stick to how they're described.
Yeah, 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 no, totally.
But yeah, no, this whole I mean, we talked a lot about in the spoiler free section how fucking vulnerable he gets
Dude.
with Feyre in this chapter. It's huge, and it's I think his we're starting to see the beginnings of his villain mask really slipping, right? And how this, I mean, for me, this just really solidifies why these two are meant to be together. Is I think you were so correct in the last episode of saying like he is more comfortable wearing this villain mask, right?
Yeah.
And it really, and we see this in Mist and Fury, and especially in Akawar, of like Feyre is really the person who convinces him to let everyone else see the real him. Let the Rhys that the Valyrians see and that the inner circle get to see. Let everyone get to see that. Like, stop
Mhm.
playing the villain. You don't have to be the villain anymore because Amaranth is gone. You're not, your dad is gone. He's been gone for a long time, right?
Mhm.
Just be like the real Rhys. We know who you are. So we get to see little bits of that, I think, in this chapter. But yeah, so I'm really glad we get to like we're getting a little
We're kinda, like,
amuse
seeing the
bouche
big
from
I was
next
gonna say
season next
exactly,
book.
exactly. We're getting, like, the beginnings of their friendship because
Yeah.
and what's interesting is, like, I feel like a lot of their friendship is kind of based off of, like alright, let's be real. It really starts off with, like, Rhys seeing her potential to, like, the nth degree,
Yes.
and her slowly realizing there is far more of a similarities between the 2 of them than she originally, like, realized,
Yeah.
right? Like I said before that it's like she sees a kindred spirit of, like, darkness, and
Yep.
that's why she's so honest with Rhysand when he asks her, "How does it feel to be high fae?" Right? And
Yeah.
it's really fascinating because there's something about we have these issues with these like villain or bad boy kind of like characters. And I think
Yeah.
the reason why so many people still kind of love this like trope or whatever is that at the end of the day, we're all pretty gray, right?
Yeah.
We're not black and white when it comes to like our morality, right?
Right.
And but we all have that friend
Mm.
or maybe it's a partner or maybe a particular time at a partner or whomever who we kind of like put on a particular pedestal whether
Yes.
they've asked to be there or not, and they
Yeah.
kind of seem like you've decided through experiences or whatever that they're just kind of like better than you, like a better
Yes.
person. And
Yep.
so when you have some of these darker thoughts or darker feelings or things that like everyone knows that you have done, but you just don't really like to like bring it up too much with that person, you don't feel comfortable telling them these thoughts, telling them these feelings because you feel like they're cleaner than me.
Yeah.
They're untouched. They're not marred. There's no scarring. There's no I have scars. I have darkness and I'm going to so that's why I think this like bad boy trope stays so popular because we feel like or bad human
Yeah.
being, whatever,
But usually a guy.
you feel like the main character feels like they can share this darkness with them because they have a
Yep.
little bit of a smudge on their record too.
Yep.
And so it's just this feels like the most real conversation we've seen Feyre had the entire book, to be perfectly
Yes.
honest with you.
Yep.
She is very real. She's very upfront. We get a pretty relatively real conversation with like Tamlin and Feyre, kind of like in the middle, but like, and I don't know how she did it. I don't know how Sarah J. Maas did it, but you
Yeah.
feel right. It like this conversation is almost more vibes than anything because you feel it's like these two kind of like comrades, soldiers in arms that are sort of just finally taking down the sort of jokey pretense that they had with each other. And they're kind of just like spitting truths at each other. And it just it feels so close. It just feels
Yeah.
very
I
close.
think part of the reason it feels much deeper, this conversation with Rhys feels much deeper than her conversation with Tamlin. And if I'm correct, tell me, you're referring to the scene when when Tamlin takes her finally to a private room and they can finally like talk a bit more one on one versus like when everyone's around them, right?
I mean, I meant just like earlier in the book in
Oh, earlier
general.
in the
Like
book, I see.
I'm
Okay.
literally saying like this feels like one of the realest moments we've had with Feyre this entire book. And
Yes, I
yeah.
agree.
Yeah, and I kind of meant like she has a relatively real conversation with Tamlin, but it kind of comes in snippets throughout the book of like different things about
Yes.
her family, different things about herself. But
Yep.
like there's just this sort of like brutal honesty that she has with Rhysand that
Yeah.
sometimes does happen when you're speaking to someone that you don't really care about how they feel about you emotionally, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you are kind of just like I don't really care what you think about me, so I actually feel like I can be more honest with you.
Right.
Um, so, but I don't there's just this like closeness that she somehow puts them in. And I do think it does have a lot of doing of kind of like this like brothers in arms kind of like mentality. Cause she was fighting under the
Yeah.
mountain with Rhysand. She was not fighting under the mountain
Oh,
with Tamlin.
no. But one thing I think is telling is like in the scene prior to this, when Tamlin brings her into this private room,
Yeah.
one of the first things they start talking about, or he starts talking about, is getting her out of the bargain with Rhys.
Yeah.
Which, like, I don't blame him for it. I think is
Oh yeah,
natural for
no.
him to, at this point, he thinks Rhys is still a bad guy, yada yada. But I think we start seeing in that scene, and there was something else that I can't remember that also made me think of this that has nothing to do with Rhys, but we're starting to see the beginnings of Mist and Fury Tamlin, of
Yeah.
controlling. I need to make sure that you're safe at all times, and it's for him, right?
Yeah.
So he knows she's okay. And
Yeah.
Feyre tells him, and thankfully he listens. We can think about that later, right? Whereas Rhys, in their conversation on this balcony, is getting at, are you okay on an emotional, deeper level,
Yeah, like
right?
she's the one who has to remind him because he even says that he calls her up here just to say goodbye. And she
Yeah.
was like, "What do you mean goodbye? Like you're gonna see me all the time." Like it's this is really good you're making this comparison because yeah, like in the conversation with Tamlin, he brings it up. In the conversation with Rhysand, she has to be the one to remind
Yep.
him. Yeah, wow,
Yeah.
that's a really good point, Ariel.
And I
Yeah.
think it just solidifies why they're meant to be together, which, speaking of which,
Dude,
the bond snaps.
so insane.
And
Isn't it crazy from a reread?
it's it's because like the last time I read about it was when we get Reese's POV in Mist and Fury, right? Of him
Right.
talking about this moment. So to read the actual moment again is so wild. And like she clocks it.
Yeah.
She says his eyes locked on mine, wide and wild, and his nostrils flared. Shock, pure shock flashed across his face, his features at whatever he saw on my face, and he stumbled back a step. Actually stumbled. And
Mhm.
then he just like disappears, not even in the shadows. He just
Peace out.
winnows the fuck
Just
out of
winnows the
there.
fuck away. Yep.
And I think he even says something about like he goes immediately to like the townhouse and finds Cassian and gets drunk or something like that.
No, he finds more
Oh no.
first. She finds
Oh,
him and he all he is saying is she's my mate, she's my mate, she's my mate. It's extremely sad.
fuck.
It's extremely sad. And then that's why he doesn't see Feyre for 3 months cuz he's trying to
Right.
figure out how is he going to fulfill the bargain while still being very aware that she is his mate while she is with Tamlin because
Yeah.
obviously you guys know being a mate doesn't necessarily mean you guys are going to be like in love with each other, right?
Right.
But so yeah, so it's actually extremely sad. He like literally goes and is just like repeating to himself and more just sort of like finds him.
Yeah.
And then I think he proceeds to like get drunk with the homies
Yeah.
later. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
actually it's very sad because when we start Mist and Fury, him being absent for those 3 months, when you know why, hits very differently. It hits very differently.
Well, it also just like it makes me think of like, Feyre and Tamlin get this like kind of traditional storybook happy ending in this book,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then when you think about it, it's so sad. Rhys has like quite the opposite experience of he
Oh,
is like having this like crisis.
yeah. I actually think he even says that he was like preparing to like never see her again and
Yeah.
um to never kind of like have her fulfill the bargain until he started hearing her through the bond saying no, 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 no on her wedding day. Like I actually think he says like I was prepared to just like kind of never see you again, but then when you called for my help down the bond, like I came. So yeah, it's a really sad like Akatar through Rhysand POV is extremely depressing.
Oh, so depression. Well, and then especially when you add on top of that, this is his first time going back to Valeris
Mhm.
in like 50 years. And the
Mhm.
first thing he does is like go to Moore and is like, she's my mate. Like, what the
Yeah.
fuck? Like,
Yeah. Although, do we learn that one of the other reasons why he is gone afterwards is because does he actually go and check on Valeris first and then come back?
yeah, no, I think he might come back to Valeris and check up on everyone else while Feyre and Tamlin are having their nice little happy ending, which I feel perfectly leads us into this is the end of book one. So, I mean, everyone here has read the whole series, but if you're following along, your homework for the next couple months, really at least, reread Mist and Fury.
Yep.
So we are going to take a bit of a hiatus. We are
Mhm.
giving ourselves the holiday for a nice little break. We haven't decided quite yet when we're coming back, but it'll probably be towards the beginning ish of the year, maybe January, hopefully definitely by February. We will let you all know. We're going to probably do a little trailer on uh everywhere, every podcast platform we're on, which as a quick reminder is Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio now, and YouTube. We'd love it if you rated, reviewed, and subscribed to us. We're also definitely going to let y'all know on the socials. So that's TikTok, Instagram, and Blue Sky at Cauldron Save Us Pod. So look out on those spaces for when we're coming back. And if you miss us, you want to say hi, you have some theories. If you find out Sarah J. Maas actually did say something about a betrayal that we did not find,
Let us
email
know.
us. Please let us know because I really want to know. Email us at cauldronsaveus@gmail.com. And that's the end of season one of Cauldron Save Us. Holy shit.
Yeah, just thank you guys, Serial Squad, thank you for being with us, for coming along. It's been so fun knowing you guys are out there listening. We see your downloads, we see your likes, we see your things, and it just makes us really happy. Um, you know, in this kind of world that we're in, having things where we have common ground and common understanding and no matter where you're from is it's a really important thing I think to be reminded. So thank you guys for that and for being with us. And Ariel, as always, my love, I love you so much. I'm so glad
Love
you
you.
had this idea. Thank you for putting this into like bringing this into our lives and for this like beautiful adventure that we're getting to start. And wow, can't wait to start the next book.
Ugh, the best, the best. And yeah, I just wanna reiterate what Corinne said. Thank you guys like for being here with us and like thank you for coming on the crazy journey, for agreeing to this. Like it's
Yeah,
I've been having the time of my life doing this. So and thank the cauldron, thank the mother.
thank the cauldron. Thank the mother. Thank you so much. But yeah, babies, our sweet kiddos, our sweet, sweet cereal squad, as always, you're welcome.
And we're sorry. See you next season.
Bye.
Bye.